This is Mark Livesay, and you're listening to The Gritty Bowman.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Someone tell me where the Humane Society of the United States has ever bought 1 acre of habitat, where they have ever funded one project that got rid of invasive weed species, where they've ever funded one project that got rid of the Asian carp in the Illinois River. I mean,
none of it.
Pick whatever it is. They've got net assets in the hundreds of millions, and they've never done anything.
I did this whole series of posts of the hierarchy of dead animals on Instagram, on social media. So I had like a picture of chicken. No one cares. Like dead, like chicken meat. A picture of chicken. A picture of fish, like cut up fish. No one cares. A picture of an actual fish. Still, no one seems to give a picture of a dead turkey. No one seemed to care. It seemed like But then I showed bear meat. And I showed some bear meat that was just in a bag. What about that? And I'm like, now we're getting weird, right? Well, it's just meat, but it says bear on it. This is bear meat.
Yeah. We care about wildlife. We care about landscapes. We care about all the things that are necessary for conservation. We'll tax ourselves 11%.
But if I showed an actual bear, like we posted some pictures of he's taking me bear hunting, actual bears that I've killed. Gee, I've never had anything in my life where people get mad at me more.
Well, in 7 days, 5 guys, how many elk do you think we can kill and pack out? There's no chance that we can kill all 5.
No.
Can with llamas. But I wanted them for the reasons I said. I wanted them to help me get my gear and my elk in and out. And I do a lot of solo hunting. Mm-hmm. But then the other benefits started showing up.
Yeah.
The ease of care, things we kind of touched about. But really, the number one thing was I like to hunt with a lot of friends, too. Llamas are also real easy to tell if they're in trouble. That's another thing. Not knowing anything. If you just know a few llamas, when their mouth is open and their mouth breathing, you need to give them a break. That's just like you. I mean, virtually, if we're staying on the trail with
That's
our
like
mouth
me
open.
with Aaron Snyder.
Well, that same thing.
All right, folks. Welcome to the Gritty Bowman Podcast. I'm here at Big Sky Resort doing the Total Archery Challenge, and which is in Montana. And I'm here with my Montana friend, Mark Livesay. And, Mark, you and I kind of go back a little bit. I met you at the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers for the first time.
At BHA Extravaganza 2 years ago.
Yep. Mark did a little intro for me. You can't mistake his voice. It's there. It's like
I was a groupie hanging out at the booth, and I was only like your 10th podcast, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. It was still really early, and it was good. A lot has happened since then. And we crashed at your house when we did those podcasts with Heather's Choice and Hunt Harvest Health. And
I'm not sure you actually crashed because I think you did the podcast till like 2 a.m.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that. Like, we had a place to stay, but I didn't get a lot of sleep on that trip. It was rough. And Hillary told me, you gotta clean up your act. You got to get some sleep. You got to take care of that testosterone.
As she drives you into the 2 o'clock in the morning hour. It was fun meeting them, too. That was good. Ryan's one of my I really follow him a lot. He's a quality guy.
Yeah, Lampers. They're great people. I love what they're doing. So today, I wanted to have Mark on the podcast because he's been getting heavily involved in llamas, hunting with llamas.
I'm glad you said involved.
Not involved like in a platonic way.
Yeah. There are boundaries. There are llama boundaries you don't cross.
In the using llamas for hunting way.
That's right.
You're involved. And, we've done a few podcasts on pack animals. Not as much as we probably should because it's a question a lot of people have. And Aaron and I are big on, using our own 2 legs. But as you get older and you want to go deeper, that's really challenging. And really, even if you're extremely fit, it's difficult to go deep into the backcountry on an elk hunt with just 2 guys, and try to pack an elk out with your camp and everything. It's just really not feasible.
Well, it's far. When I started looking at llamas, and we'll probably get into this, but it went so much further for me than other than just using a pack apple to get the llamas out. I mean, there were so many things once I started really thinking about it. And like you said, getting older, I like to solo hunt a lot, and I like to archery, so the weather, all these factors. Yeah. But it was when I started really looking closer at it, it became way more than that, and I hope we can get into that a little bit more. But at first, though, the attraction was, man, if I could put put my gear on their back and put the meat on their back and they could carry it out. That was kind of my only thinking when I first started down this path. But that wasn't my end goal.
Because you're like a real fit dude. Like, how old are you right now?
51.
51. And you did a lot of...
I've done a lot. I'm kind of, my wife would always say that he's either on or he's off. When he's in something, he's in it. So like these llamas, I'm in it.
You're in it.
And when we were in triathlon, we raced, I was in it.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that so people know your background.
Oh, so anyway, I worked for a nonprofit most of my career out of college, and then for about 20 years. Then at the end of my career in the nonprofit world, I started getting into triathlon, and I met my wife. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't swim or really run any distance. I'm an ex-football player, track guy.
Yeah.
3 miles was, are you kidding?
Yeah.
So when I decided, I was at the gym and I had just gotten divorced, and I thought, man, I went through that divorce. I got to get in shape thing. And so I ran into one of my buddies. He said, man, you should do a triathlon. And I said, well, that sounds good, except I don't have a road bike. I can't swim, and I've never run over 3 miles. And he goes, but I'll do it. He goes, well, what do you think? And I said, well, what's the toughest one? Yeah. He goes, well, the Ironman. The Ironman's the toughest, but then that's what we
got to do.
We got to start off with that.
Yeah.
My first race I signed up for was an Ironman. And I actually didn't end up doing it. I had to do it as a relay team because I couldn't get ready for the swim. And but then I was hooked. After that first one, then I went on. I did 10 Ironmans after that.
10 Ironmans after that. That's a lot, dude.
And my wife did them with me. She did 5. She's done 5. I've done 10.
Wow.
It was fun. We loved it. We met some great friends, and that's how we got in the event production business. So the second phase of my life was starting Ultramax Sports, which is a event production. We produce triathlons, marathons, all over the place.
What was your longest race?
Well, the Ironman is 2.5-mile swim, 112-mile bike, and a 26.2 marathon run at the end.
No, thank you.
And everybody always asks, is that in 1 day or 2 days? 1 day, and you have 17 hours to get it done.
You did 10 of those.
10.
Yeah, dude. You got some grind in you.
We actually, my wife and I.
Do you like pain?
How my wife convinced me to get married?
Yeah.
She said, we're either getting married or I'm leaving. I said, okay, honey. I'll say okay. I said, but she goes, and then I was kind of waffling.
You got a good woman, too.
I know.
You got a really good woman.
I know. So then she says, why don't we do an Ironman for our honeymoon? And I said, now you're talking. So we did Ironman Brazil on our honeymoon. And that's where we qualified for Hawaii World Championships.
So, a reason I wanted you to mention that was because it's not like you're not a fit dude, strong dude. It's not like you don't have drive and you can't handle the pain. But now you're 51 and you're getting older, and llamas, they offer more opportunity.
Yeah,
I mean, the reality.
That's right. I mean, I turned 51, and I'm not in the shape I used to be. I mean, I've gone through periods of my life. I'm either, like I said, I'm on, I'm off. Same with fitness. I'm either on.
I'm
fire.
either a donut eater or almost.
No, that's the way I am.
Champion.
Brian. I'm crazy about that.
Yeah.
So now that I've kind of stepped back from my company and I moved to Montana, that was the whole deal. My wife pretty much forced me to move west to get back to what I love, which is Western hunting.
Outdoors and Western hunting.
I used to travel from Missouri. This will be my 32nd elk hunt coming up.
Nice.
And but I always had to come from Missouri.
Yeah.
So
why not live here, dude? Your house is unreal.
Well, thank you.
The land you live on. I mean, do you sit there and think, why didn't I move west a long time ago?
Don't even.
Tell the truth.
You'll probably make me start crying thinking about it, because we weren't in the position to do it. Maybe when I was 40.
Yeah.
But in the event world, we could have moved that anywhere.
Yeah.
And we just, people get comfortable. I guess one thing
I have friends who have moved out, who've come out west. Just a friend of mine just recently, and she stayed at our house for a couple days, and I met her at the Pennsylvania Total Archery Challenge in Seven Springs, and we were talking, and she said, I'm like, and I've said this many times, I love the East Coast. I like to visit the East Coast, but I don't know how anybody after they've moved out west or been out west won't move. Like, it's just incredible. Look at this.
We probably shouldn't say this out loud, because let me tell you something. When I go back home to Missoula, and people, when this thing airs, and like, what
they're
in the
gonna
world
be, shut
are you
up,
doing
Mark,
talking about Montana?
Yeah,
we're the best kept secret in the West, but yeah, I wish I'd have done it sooner. But I'm not I'm taking full advantage of it now.
So you move out here, and so what brought on the llamas then? Like, how'd you go there?
Well, so the llamas I've been looking at for a long time.
Mm-hmm. And why llamas?
Well,
let's get into it.
So I've been on a couple hunts with horses, and horses and me, I've been on horses and around horses a lot of my life, working on farms when I grew up and things like that. But they scare you. I mean, those things, they're so unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
There's some great ones. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's some amazing pack animals, but there's some, I've seen some rodeos that get downright scary.
Me too. Anthony and I have owned horses and mules, and we've done a bunch of eagle cap stuff, and where we went in deep with our animals a number of times. And I think for me, horses, I ended up, you kind of had to really love having horses, the whole experience with maintaining them, the whole experience with when you're up there, you're kind of on a horseback / hunting trip.
It's 50-50.
Yeah.
You're spending half your time horse maintenance and half your time hunting.
Yeah, really.
And that's
I've
fine.
seen some rodeos, too.
That's fine if that's what your goal is.
Yeah, like some people love horses in that whole experience.
And
for me, they're just a means to an end.
That's right.
I don't have a passion for the actual horse experience that much.
Well, and the cost. The sheer cost of horses. One, they're expensive to get.
Maintain.
2, they're a lot expensive to maintain. Their vet bills are higher. They require a lot more property.
Yeah.
They don't eat shrubbery and browse stuff like goats and llamas kind of do. And so you have to pack in a lot of food and hay for them.
Yeah.
They can carry a lot more weight, but they also have to carry a lot of their own stuff.
Yeah.
They have to be watered every day. Now, not that llamas don't need water, but they can go without water.
Yeah.
Horses cannot.
Because the llama's a camelid.
They're a camel family.
Yeah.
And I've got 2 of my llamas that we just stand at the creek, and they'll look at the water, and then they'll poop in it.
Yeah. So I had pack goats for like 3 years.
Oh, you really?
Pack string. We had 5 pack goats, and we went into the eagle caps a couple times with goats. And I got to admit, I love goats, and I should probably do a podcast on that at some point. And we just turned them out in the pasture, in this big pasture area, and they're just running around all over in the pasture. They were pretty easy to keep, in general. And then I just opened my canopy in my truck and be like, "Come on, boys!" And they'd hop in the back, and I'd shut it, and we'd drive to the eagle caps. We load them up, and we just walk in. It's like a few dogs running behind you. And anywhere we went, they pretty much could go. I mean, up sheer bouldering cliffs, right?
But they had to go with you during the day when you hunted too, right? Or did they stay at camp?
We actually highlined them a number of times and kept them in camp. But it was easier just to let them follow us around.
Yeah.
It was easier just to let them follow us around, and not even that. In that case, they don't seem to spook game at all.
Yeah.
And so they just follow you a little bit, and some of the animals will look at them. They're almost like decoys.
Yeah.
They didn't get weirded out. But, so I kind of, I've done it. I've done horses. I've done goats. And even packed with my dog a lot to go fishing, and had a little backpack on her, and she would carry some of my gear. But as far as pack animals go, when we took our goats out, watering was easy. They just drank or they didn't drink, and half the time they didn't drink.
Yeah.
And they would eat whatever, and at night we just went to bed. We never tied them up. We'd find them up like at the top of these cliffs in the morning. And, dude, all you had to do was take a little can, put some rocks in it, and shake it like you had some grain.
Yeah.
And they would come all the way down, taking maybe 10 minutes, and they'd be in camp, and we just give them a snack. And it was very low maintenance on the trail. What my issue with llamas was I lived in the Northwest, and their hooves it was like a constant trimming job. I had to take care of their hooves all the time.
The goats, really?
Yep. And we lived in the mud.
Like during the season even?
No.
Not just once a year?
During like every month, every couple months.
Wow.
And where there's not a rocky ground and it's not dry, they're subject to hoof rot very easily in Oregon in the West, and it just they're a high mountain animal that need rocks and stuff to wear their hooves down and everything. And when they didn't have that, it was like there was a lot of maintenance there, and then there was a lot of laziness if they weren't in shape.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to shoot one and leave it on the mountain like 3 or 4 times. And
llamas will do that too. I don't know a lot about that yet because I haven't packed a whole lot. I've been on 3 trips with mine already, and but I have had one lay down on me once.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to get him right back up. And the only reason he really laid down, had full packs on, had 60 pounds on, panniers. And we were hiking, and we stopped, give him a break. He didn't want to take a break. He was mad because we He goes, well, if we're just going to keep stopping, I'm just going to lay down. And plopped right down in the trail. And we're pulling on him. So finally I had to get behind him, grab him by the tail, lift his tail up, and he stood up and packed the rest of the day. But
yeah.
We did 18 miles.
Did you?
With him. And
that's a lot. See, the goats weren't that fast, and they couldn't take heavy loads, and they needed to be in shape.
Yeah.
They need to be conditioned.
Well, I'm sure the llamas need to be in shape too, but
I've heard that their conditioning is way less necessary
right
than
out
a goat.
of the box, they're pretty strong.
And same with a horse and a mule.
Yep.
Right out of the box, they're strong.
Yep.
Like, you can just kind of, if they get out and hike every now and then, they're good.
Yep.
But with a goat, it's like almost you had to go take them on hikes constantly.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not unlike a person, and their fitness went down pretty fast. And then they didn't carry that much weight. You know, it was like 25 pounds, 30 pounds a goat, and I don't know if you try to go higher, they start limping, or it was just so. Llamas. I had Greg Munther on the podcast.
Okay,
and he's 70. What now? I don't know. He's up there in the 70s.
I hope I'm doing it like him when he's.
And he's got 3-pack llamas, and he goes solo with his recurve, and he's still killing critters and coming out. And he's like, it's all because of the llamas.
Yep.
I could not do what I'm doing without these llamas. So get back into why the llamas.
Okay, so kind of my story on llamas. So about 2 years ago, at the BHA event where I met you.
Did you meet Bo?
I met Bo Brady. He had these llamas there.
Yeah.
And I'd been on talking to him by email for a while.
Tell a little, for people who are listening, who's Bo Brady?
All right, so Bo Beatty and Kirsten Beatty
yeah.
own Wilderness Trail Ridge Llamas. And then they're involved with some other trekking companies, but their primary kind of business, if you want to call it, it's a business, but for them it's a love.
Yeah.
It's crazy how many llamas they got. But anyway,
and they've done a number of seminars at the BHA rendezvous.
So I've been following him before, and we had communicated before, but then I met him at the BHA thing, and that's when I was concrete. I've got to have llamas.
I like this. Yeah.
So then I got on a waiting list, and it took about a year and a half for me to get a llama. So finally he called me one day, and he said, Mark, I got a llama in Butte.
Okay.
I think it was Butte.
Yeah.
And that one fell through. I was bummed. It never materialized. So then he says, well, I think I got another one for you. And then that one didn't. And I was just trying to get one llama. But you can't really get one llama. They do not thrive with one. You've got to have a partner.
Okay.
They do not do well by themselves. So anyway, I was looking for two. Well, all of a sudden, out of the blue, four 4-year-old plus llamas came available all over California, Utah, all at the same time. So I decided that, it's feast or famine. I'll just take all four.
Yeah.
So I bought four, and I got a 3.5-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 6-year-old. And llamas really can't really pack all that much until they're about 3 to 4.
Same with a goat.
Yeah, they got to develop a little bit.
Yeah.
So mine are just now at the point where they're going to carry, and that's kind of what I wanted because I didn't want them to have bad habits. I wanted them to learn my way. So anyway, I ended up.
And how long do they live? Do they work?
In the 20s.
Okay. Dang.
So as long as I'm going to be alive, they can live into about their 20s, I get, around there. So they're going to pack as long as I need them to pack, the ones I got.
Yeah.
And so I've got two. My 5-year-old and my 6-year-old have been on pack strings before, so they're my natural leaders. It's funny how the dynamics in the llamas, some of them are really good at leading, the others love to follow. And so anyway, I've got quite a diverse little group. But so when I decided to get him, I met Bo, and I was hooked on him. But I wanted him for the reasons I said. I wanted him to help me get my gear and my elk in and out. And I do a lot of solo hunting.
Mm-hmm.
But then the other benefits started showing up.
Yeah.
The ease of care, things we kind of touched about. But really the number one thing was I like to hunt with a lot of friends too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a valuable time for me.
Yeah.
I got friends from Missouri now that are coming out to Montana to hunt with me now and stuff, like almost too many.
Yeah.
I hope they're not watching. So now I love you guys. You keep coming. I got 5 guys coming, okay?
Uh-huh.
Brian, let's say we're hunting 7 days, 5 guys. Well, these guys are not very good bow hunters, to be honest. But now they're starting to get better because they're coming.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to kill elk. Well, in 7 days, 5 guys, how many elk do you think we can kill and pack out? There's no chance that we can kill all 5.
No.
Can with llamas. Because, Brian, let's say you're in a group of 5. Brian, you kill your elk. Brian takes all 4 llamas out by himself.
Right.
The other guys go right back
It's the
to
same
hunting.
thing with horses and mules. It's like you know,
But even horses by one person's hard to handle.
True.
Llamas, they're like dogs. You chain them up. You should see them go around trees. The way they just follow that rope when they're chained up with
they are like a natural pack animal. I mean, that's what people have been using them for years, right?
I mean,
that's what camels do. I mean, that's just what people.
Strung up.
Yep. And so how easy is it to lead a llama, to have them?
On my first solo outing with my llamas, I went to a guide training for about 4 days with them. That was my first introduction to them.
Okay.
I spent 4 days with them, came home, took my family on a 2-day camp with them. My daughter is 4, my son is 7, and my wife none of them have ever even seen a llama, led them for 3 days by themselves solo. Yeah. My 4-year-old led the llama completely by herself. Llama never pulled, never bucked, and actually listened to her better than he does. Sometimes you're carrying the rope, you don't even know they're back there. I've got my 2 leaders won't even let the rope go tight. They want it to hang.
That's kind of how the goats are. We don't even string the goats.
Yeah, they don't string. Now, llamas
they just wander around.
Llamas are like that dog that loves you. He wants to be right next to you, but he doesn't want you to pet him. You know, like when you go towards him, he'll run from you. That's kind of how llamas are. They're super social. They want to anywhere you go, they want to be, but they want to be right here.
They don't want to be touched.
They want their space.
Yeah.
Except my kids.
It's just like Aaron Snyder.
Yeah, well, they've got some Snyder tendencies. So they're real standoffish, except for my kids. They let my kids just hang on them.
Really?
But adults, like full grown, what you kind of have to do with a llama is they have to know they're caught. You know, once they know that you're in control of them, meaning you have them by the neck, kind of with your arm around them, or on the lead, they're like a baby.
They're like, okay.
But if they know they're free, then you got to do like the shaking the can. That's the same thing we do, except we call them llama cookies.
Yeah.
You shake those llama cookies, and man, here they come. Mm-hmm. And that's how we catch them, and we get the harnesses on them.
Yeah.
And but no, we can't let them roam around because now I guess you probably could, but they're hard to get a hold of.
Right.
Because they won't leave the other llamas.
Right.
But they're going to be hard to get a hold of. So
let's at night. Do you like tether one and just leave the rest?
This is the other benefit.
Okay.
So me, not only do I like to solo hunt, it seems like nowadays everywhere I like to hunt is grizzly infested.
Yeah.
And last year in Wyoming, I packed in and I saw 3 grizzlies in the first 24 hours.
Yeah.
And solo.
I know.
By myself, sun's going down, there's a grizzly 300 yards from my tent. I'm like, okay. I'm a tough guy. You know, I don't care how tough you are. When you see that,
dude,
and you go to bed, there's some uneasy.
Oh, dude, every noise is like.
I don't like sleeping on my back. I hate it. But that night, I had that bear spray and my 44 mag laid on my chest. There was more chance of you shooting yourself than a bear. Far more chance.
But
than a bear
still, man, that's not a way you want to go down.
So anyway, the llamas.
Like, I'd rather shoot myself than get ate by a bear.
That's what I want to do. No. See, I'm the opposite. I tell my wife all the time, the way I want to go on a grizzly.
You and Ranilla.
That's how I want to go, man. I mean, can you imagine?
I want to scar from here to here, but I want to survive it. So I
don't know.
Okay.
So the llamas, and the reason I've heard about their tendencies with predators, but I'd never witnessed it until we got them to my house. Well, you know where I live. The minute we get our llamas in there, I got a bear problem. Mm-hmm. We're laying in bed one night. We've had them for about a week, and we hear this bop, 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 bop. It's about like that.
Yeah.
And that's their alarm sound, and it's shrill and it's loud. And we go out, look out the window, and here's the bear in the pen with them. So I go down there, we run that bear off. But every time that predator shows up, that's their thing. So, dude, in camp.
Yeah, you got a watchdog.
So I have a teepee.
Yeah.
I stake them in all 4 corners of that teepee. They're like my first line of defense.
Dude, they're like, if anything's getting ate, it's them anyway.
Well, I'm sleeping like a baby. I'm like, when the alarm goes off, then I'll go to war. But until it goes off, I'm
It's interesting because we just did a podcast with Dustin Rowe, Sheep Guide, NBC. And he has pack dogs. He has 2. And they're a cross. They're a hybrid. They're not a purebred. They're like Boxer and Pyrenees or something. And those dogs he takes up with him. And one of the things he's like, they each carry 30 pounds.
Wow.
Usually. And then 50 pounds when they pack out.
What?
Yep.
A dog?
A dog. Yep.
Wow.
And he's like, and they use 1 gallon bag of dog food.
It's got to be half their body weight.
Lasts, I mean, they're 90-pound dogs,
they're
I think.
carrying half their body weight.
I think he said 90. Yeah.
Wow.
And I think he said 50.
Yeah, well, that's
maybe
crazy.
It could be 40. But
It doesn't
still,
matter.
it was
That's
a
still
lot,
impressive.
right? It was still a lot.
Yeah.
And they didn't hardly need I was like, but the problem is they got to pack their own food in.
Yeah.
But he's like, dude, it's not very much.
Yeah.
When it's dry kibble, it's like a 1 gallon bag, Ziploc bag will hold 5 days worth of food. So I bring 2 of those for a 10-day hunt. And there's still plenty of weight for them. Yeah. And he's like, they cannot wait to get their packs on and hike. They love it. So they ride in the plane, they ride in the car, they go to the hotel with them.
What about like when you're out hunting?
They go with him.
See, that was.
And here's the thing: he's like, when he's up there in BC, he's like, I don't know when I'm going to run into a grizzly or not.
Yeah, you're right.
And I'm going through a little gully or whatever, and he's like, it's so comforting to have the dogs with him as those protectors. And when he goes to bed at night in camp, same thing. And he's like, and the grizzlies up there are, I think, they're a little more, they're hunted, whereas down here they haven't been hunted in
they don't have
20, 30 years. So there's a conditioning that they have here where they're not as they're a little bolder here. So having a dog, out there to kind of, be that line of defense has been he's like, he loves it.
Yeah.
It's been really good for him. So, and llamas similarly, it sounds like it's nice to have him there.
That was a side benefit that I really didn't know a lot about was that they're not very, like a horse. This is another story. We ran it, so in Wyoming, on this same Wyoming trip, we ran into an outfitter on the last day we were packing out. It was wet and muddy and nasty. And he's like, you guys haven't seen 22 horses, have you? I'm like, no.
22 horses?
Yeah. I said, no, we haven't seen. He goes, what trail? We told him, I said, no, we didn't see anything
22
like that.
horses?
22 horses. He said a grizzly came into the corral. They busted the corral. They all were wild running.
Wow.
And llamas, they get nervous around predators, but they don't retreat. I watched them in the bear. They stand their ground. They turn towards them. Now, they'll back up, but they won't really run from them.
Yeah, that's how a mule is, too.
Yeah. So,
like, they'd rather fight, really, than actually get chased.
Yeah. So I wasn't expecting the alarm part of it.
Yeah.
But solo hunting is awesome. I tell you, I have to admit, I'd sleep pretty good with those things staked outside my tent.
Me too. That's it. Yeah. Very interesting. Okay. So you got that.
So that, and then the fact that everybody could keep hunting. Those were 2 really key things that I really probably didn't weigh that thoroughly.
And I didn't think about this. Like we did it because mules can carry an insane amount of weight.
Yeah.
Like half their body weight.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So it's easy to throw a single elk on one critter.
Right.
And they can pack that out, 250 pounds to 300-pound dude or pack. It's depending on the size of the mule, But even if you have 2, which we did, we split that weight up between 2, and one guy would just walk them out. Takes one guy, so you get an animal down, everybody breaks it down, loads it up, and then the dude walks.
Everybody goes back to hunting.
8 miles out or whatever, but everybody else can go back to hunting. And then he'll come back in.
What if you find the guy that leads the mule out, though? He has to have some little experience with that because he's got to get to the trailer, got to get it in the tree. He's got to have some experience, right? A little bit.
Well, a llama can hurt you. I mean, not a llama. A mule can really hurt you. Break your bones. It can, and you get a rodeo. And
like a llama,
you almost need like 2 people just for safety when you're dealing
what you're doing
with mules or horses.
I'm telling you, with a llama, Brian, you could go into the backcountry with me, kill an elk. I just hand you the lead. It's
having never done it.
It's no different than taking my dog out.
It does sound a lot like pack goats.
Yeah, it's pack goats. It's more like a dog, honestly. Mm-hmm. It's almost exactly like a dog, except they don't lead.
That's how the goats were, too.
They never lead.
It's like having 4 or 5 dogs with you just kind of running around.
And that's part of their training is that we train them never to get in front.
Yeah.
They're always behind. Going steep downhill, sometimes they get right in your ear because they're like, why are you going so slow?
Yeah,
because they can cruise.
Right.
Going uphill, they like to go your pace. But going downhill, they like to go faster.
Yeah.
But we train them. You just put your hand up, and we just train them to stay back. And that's the only difference is that they're leading from the rear instead of leading from the front.
Yeah. So So what do you do with them when you go hunt during the day?
That's the other thing. See,
And when you
I don't
stake
know
them
if
at
you call
night,
me-
what do you mean you stake them?
So, like, when I say that I'm a solo hunter, one of the things I love about that, and I'm sure you're the same, there is something about the peace I get when I'm out there in bugling season.
I agree.
And I'm by myself or with a friend, and we're calling, and we don't got those animals with us, and we just want to stalk.
You want to be
animal.
a ninja.
You want to be free to do
Predator all
whatever
by
you
yourself,
want.
yeah.
If there's a scree field gets in the way, we just cross it. I don't really want the llamas with me
Right.
when I'm hunting.
Right.
Not that I would.
I get it.
So the llamas are really good at camp, and they're quiet. They don't draw a lot of attention like to predators.
Yeah.
They don't sit there and like goats make a lot of noise, and it's just like a predator call. You might as well plug a Fox Pro in at camp and leave it running.
Like llamas seem cautious, like quiet. They're looking
They're
around.
real quiet.
Like, just
they
real-
hum. Sometimes they'll hum, but if they're tied close together, they
lay low.
They just quiet. They lay down a lot. So staking them out, dog stake.
That's it.
No joke. Just drive it in the ground with your foot. They don't pull.
Really.
And actually, I kind of like that because if a predator comes, I do want them to be able to get away.
Yeah.
And be able to defend themselves. So I want it in tight enough that it holds them, but not tight enough that if they really need to get loose, they can.
Yeah.
And what's really weird is they never tangle themselves up hardly ever.
Okay, so that was the next thing I was going to ask. Like, there are a few goats that I'm like, freaking A, dude. You come back and they look like they're in a net. You know, they took a 5-inch rope and managed to turn it into a web. And it's like, and they're joking to death. It's like, I mean, can you be any dumber? Like, can you not figure out where this is? Like, goats are the worst animal to tie up.
Now, the llamas so far, my experience so far, they're super easy. Now, sometimes I use
because you're not highlining it. Then
no,
you're right on the ground
or to a tree,
and they don't get all twisted up.
You know, I do a lot. If I'm going to say one night, I tie them to a tree.
Yeah,
I just put the little clip on.
Clip them on.
They just once they feel the pressure of that rope, the minute the pressure, that's their limit. Mm-hmm. I've never seen one pull on the rope.
They don't fight it.
They don't fight it. They like I said about llamas. And again, I certainly
not a llama expert.
I'm not a llama expert yet, but I'm working on it.
You're learning.
But I've spent a lot of time with Bo, and he has been an amazing resource. And he's so giving of his information too. But
I want to do a podcast.
Yeah, he's amazing.
With Bo. We've talked about it a couple times.
I cannot tell you. We want to get you out and maybe do one in the real.
Oh, I would love that.
Some kind of if it ever could work out.
Just because I want to see him in action.
Even a fishing trip or something. Maybe get the gritty angler and we'll do it. Because I told him about, dude, we were talking and I said, Chad, we should pack in some float tubes on my. He goes, oh, yeah. Now you're talking.
Yeah.
Because some of those lakes, man.
Yeah. Because
you can't get those float tubes 8 miles up there.
Yeah. Right.
And, but anyway, so we stake them out or tie them out, and overnight, no problem. And they eat just the grass that's there. And we usually pack in those llama cookies I was talking about, 1 pound per day. That's it. And that's really more of a treat than it is a requirement. It's more of a reward for a good, hard day's work, and it keeps them kind of full of energy and stuff like that. So that's all there is to maintenance.
Yeah.
And the saddles. That's the other thing. The pack saddles that Wilderness Ridge, they make them, and I bought them from them, but they got 3 clips. They clip in the front, they clip at the chest, and they clip it under the belly. That's it.
How well do they stay on?
As long as the panniers are balanced within 1 pound.
Yeah.
I've only adjusted one so far. Like I had one that was a little over, and it was leaning, so I just either added a couple rocks or moved something.
Yep.
As long as they're balanced, they just stay.
Nice.
And, llamas there's a lot of different llamas. We haven't really talked about that yet, but the Kakara, the quote pack llama, has long hair, but not like an alpaca or the other type of long hair llamas.
Okay.
So what's really cool about the saddles is when you put that kind of a felt pad on, and then you put their saddles on, their hair actually it's not, I want to say it's like Velcro, but it slides a lot less than a slick horse.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like on a horse, when you put saddle, you got to crank them.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And on these llamas, you can actually slide your hand underneath you can't hardly do that on a horse.
You're right.
On a strap on a horse.
Yeah. It's a little different on a mule, but I know what you mean.
So similar. So the saddles aren't near as tight. There's a lot less buckles. I can have one completely saddled up with panniers in under 5 minutes. Ready to roll.
Like a goat.
Yeah. They're almost, with those nylon panniers, probably they're very similar to the goats. I've never done it. They're just bigger.
Yeah, just bigger. So what about traveling with them?
That's even better. So when I travel with them, I bought a 2-horse trailer, super light horse trailer. 'Cause I'm pulling it with a Toyota Tundra, not a big 2500. I open up the back door and I say, get in, and they just all roll right in. All 4 of them get in there and lay down. Yeah. And I drive down the road. 4 llamas in a 2-horse trailer. And, or they'll stand up for a while, but they don't buck and kick. And this is what's going to really freak you out. I'll put all 4 llamas in my horse trailer, and my 4-year-old daughter jumps up in there and walking all in there with them. Underneath them, pulling them on the neck, nothing.
Really?
Their hooves are soft like a goat.
Yeah.
So even stepping on her, they don't even hurt her.
Yeah.
And they're so aware. Llamas are so aware of their feet. I thought, because they walk really close to you.
Yeah.
I thought for sure those
they're
things
going to
would
step
be all
on
over your heel.
Like a horse or a mule, which hurts like hell.
And I've probably packed 20 days with them so far. On 20 days of hiking with them so far, not once been touched. Not even touched in the heel. Yeah. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend this. You want to wear closed-toe shoes when you're around any pack animals. Yeah. But my daughter's wearing those water shoes and flip-flops, all in there with them.
So how well do they move through the woods and the trees and up hills and all that?
I've got some video I got to post, but I got a retaining wall at my house, and it's about a 4.5 foot. Back where we were shooting our bows, I got this little wall.
Yeah.
And for one day, we were kind of training, and I said, I've never seen what they can do or can't do. And I told my wife, I said, why don't you take that llama on a circle, and when you get to the wall, I want you to go around, and I'm going to hand you the lead. I'm going to see what he'll do. Bam.
Right up the wall.
4.5 feet from a dead drop. Jump straight up.
No problem.
50 inches. Didn't even think about it.
Dang.
So then we got out of there.
That's a cliff, basically.
Well, yeah, so then we get out on the trail, our first time out. I wanted to test them out a little. Deadfall, they just are picking their way through, not even thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm waiting on us. They're more waiting on us to find a way. So they were great in the deadfall. The crossing the water was really a surprise. I thought they wouldn't like it. The only bad thing about crossing water with llamas, every time they want to poop and pee in the water, every single time.
Really?
For some reason.
That's so weird.
They never want to drink it, but they want to poop in it.
I'll tell you that goats
they don't like
can
water,
be tricky for water. It's like it's just like an evolutionary thing. It's like antelope and fences. Yeah. There's just some kind of mental block there. And if you get them going through water when they're kids and they're just little, you can train them through that. But you get a goat that's older that never really got pushed. It's like they can't see through it or something. I mean, there's different theories, but they are just freaking out when you try to.
It's slick or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, but. We had some great goats that just walked right through it because as babies, they just got conditioned for it. But it's not natural for a goat to walk through water.
Bo says that about the water, because I don't know a lot about that yet because I've done very little water crossing. I probably crossed, 10 creeks with them.
Yeah.
And but I've crossed waist deep.
Uh-huh.
And they go no problem.
Okay.
And it makes me a little nervous when I've got them chained up, all 4 of them, because one of them may want to go and the other wants to look, and then they start pulling on each other. So, but my experience has been so far, maybe I just got the 4 best llamas in the world, but they cross water great.
Great, yeah.
Deadfall great. Bo claims anywhere you can go as a person on all 4s or on 2 feet, that llama can go. Pack animals can't do that.
Yeah.
How many guys that kill something and then have to pack their animal to the horses?
Right.
I had a guy last year that said he had to pack 2.5 miles just to get it to the horse.
That's where pack goats blew my mind.
That's where they're good.
We were in the Eagle Caps, and there was some spots that were just straight up cliffs, and we had to grab with our hands and climb these, there's 10 or 15-foot cliffs with ledges and these goats went up it.
Goats you can't. That's one of their super strengths.
Yeah.
So I would say whatever the goat can do, the llamas can do a little bit lower level.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not sitting here, guys, and I'm a little high on the llamas, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I'm not sitting here saying the llamas are the
end all be all. No. Everybody has a different
But for
taste.
Me, with very little pack animal experience, I wanted to keep them at my house, and you know where I live.
Well, that was the next thing I was going to get to. So here's the part that Aaron and I have talked about this a lot. Owning animals, livestock, is a job. You got to feed them. You got to care for them. They got vet bills. You got to have a place to put them. They got to have water. And winter comes, things freeze. You got to make sure the water's not frozen. All that kind of stuff. So that's one thing that I liked about mules. Mules were like unkillable. Like for this dude who's not that, even me, I could take care of mules. Like they ate the crappiest, like cheapest hay you could get.
Could you ride your mules?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They ride mules. They were great. And mules have a nice gait, and they're fast. They move well. I mean, I love mules, and I would be happy to have just 1 or 2 mules again. One dude, if you have one mule and you just hike in and it's a packer, you shoot an elk. Like I said, that one mule can pack it out.
Yeah.
And it's nice just to have that one little pack animal, pretty easy maintenance. But the thing is, so I liked a lot about that. They were easy keepers, where horses were a whole lot more difficulty. It seemed like they always had something going wrong.
They get some
with them.
personalities too.
Yeah,
the ones I've been around.
Well, same with mules, dude. They're odd like people are, just super unique. And
the llamas are another thing too, is they love to do it. It's like they live for it. We go out to put their gear on them. It's like they can't get it on fast enough.
That's kind of how goats were too.
Man, they love to go out on the trail
until they got tired.
Yeah,
which didn't take long. So what's the endurance on a llama?
Well,
18 miles.
Like you said,
I guess.
I can't outdo them.
Yeah.
So my 51-year-old body. Now, Snyder probably could kill a llama. But you guys could probably kill a llama. But at my pace, I love the llama pace, Brian. It's about 2 miles an hour down the trail. If I go 2 miles an hour, I can go all day.
Yeah.
You start trying to push that 3-4 mile an hour limit in that high country, and you're exhausted.
Yeah.
So I almost like the fact that it slows me down a little bit, get in and out. And really what I'm talking about here, though, Brian, is only getting into and out of your spike
spot.
camps.
Yeah.
You can hunt whatever speed you want to hunt. The thing that sold me on the llama, because I was on the mule kick. I almost went that path. Was the ease of care. And in camp, I wanted him in camp. I really didn't want him just. And horses highlining them scares me.
Yeah.
In camp, they can kill themselves really easy.
Yeah, no,
predators are really problems with them.
Oh, and dude, we had a couple mules. It was like as soon as we left camp, they would go berserk. He would hee-haw and make this noise, and you could hear him like 3 miles out. You could still hear the damn mule going off, and you're like, freaking A. And I've heard, you train them, get them at certain stages, and they're okay with you leaving and stuff. But and like llamas, singles aren't that good.
Yeah.
And you start adding.
Well, they're like people do. We don't like to be alone most of the time.
But you add 2 critters.
Yeah.
To a situation instead of one. I mean, just work kicks in. It's just more money, more maintenance. And so, but. So how easy are they to keep? Like, what do you feed them, and how much does it cost?
I can't tell you. I mean, how
what
easy
kind of pen
is.
do you need, and how much foot maintenance and hoof maintenance do you have to do?
So when I went to this guide training, we learned a lot about how to shear them.
Yeah.
And clipping their toenails. Their feet are soft.
Yeah.
So they got these. They're almost like a giant fingernail clipper.
Yeah.
Now, remember what I talked about? The llamas don't like to be manhandled a lot. It's a little bit of a rodeo to trim their. Trim their feet.
Dude, I don't want you picking up my feet and trimming my toes.
So when you come after the llama once a year with the shears and the clippers, they kind of know what's up. So you kind of got to get them up against or in between some horse panels and kind of so they know they're, quote, caught.
Yeah.
Then they seem to be a little more. But again, they really can't hurt you. Now, could they hurt you a little bit? They could.
Yeah.
But they're not like a horse kicks you. It's gonna smart. But the llama's feet it's not really that big a deal. They don't hurt you.
Yeah.
And my biggest llama weighs right at 400 pounds.
Really?
So it's a big llama, but they're not, it's not a 1,000-pound mule or 1,200, however big they get.
Yeah.
So anyway, just clipping their feet once a year, maybe if you live in soil like you were talking about before.
Yeah,
you know,
muddy.
Where I'm at, it's real rocky and it's real dry where I live. So we'll see. I don't know yet.
Yeah, I think it's totally different when you live in Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Colorado, when you're keeping livestock than when you're keeping livestock in Oregon and Washington.
Well,
I'm telling you, dude, it was like we had a large pasture. There's just so much rainfall that it turned into mud within, a month or two in the winter.
Wheels are really sinking in at that
And they're sinking in. It's like you see them walking around all over in Oregon where people keep them in too small of a space, and it's just a mud hole. And I just think that's just a horrible thing to do to an animal.
I've got my llamas at my house. We fenced in 2 acres.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's not much.
No, they've been in there. All 4 of them have been in there for a month now.
Do they graze it to oblivion?
Can't even tell they've been in there yet.
Really?
They just pick around.
Because goats, dude, they're freaking hay burners.
They'll debark.
They kill. We put goats out. They are literally like voracious eaters. I'm like, where does it go? But they will eat like an entire forest.
No.
Like 3 goats.
They eat. And I haven't noticed very much but it was really funny when I built this. I told you I built this really elaborate 6-string, high tensile, smooth wire fence, steel posts.
Oh, I've done that. I've been there.
All welded. I did this great job. They wouldn't leave the gate. We let them loose. We're thinking they're going to roam and check it all out. For a week, they stayed right by the gate. I'm like, baby, I could have
built a 10 by 10.
I could have built a 20-foot pen. But now they're starting to get out and check it out. But the point is, we give them 4 of them. I give them a block of hay, about 1.5 feet. And they each get about 4 inches of it a day. So they go through about a bale of hay a week, 4 of them. Now they're eating grass right now, too.
Yeah, like my mules were like a bale a day.
And then my kids, they do kind of overfeed the cookies a little bit right now. They're getting. I'm worried they're going to get a little fat because they love to feed them the cookies. So we give about a pound of those cookies and a little bit of hay. So by my math, it's about $500 a year per llama. That's amazing.
And that's 4 llamas.
That $500 a piece.
Yeah, $2,000 a year.
$2,000 a year for 4 llamas.
No, that's cheap.
Oh, and the vet supposedly, I haven't had any problems, but it's rare. And what they do get, you can almost self-treat.
Here's the thing I keep hearing. Like I talked to Greg Munther, and then Ranilla's brother has llamas, right?
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit, too, because I listened to the podcast just, again, to that, because I love his brother anyway.
Yeah. Dude, his brother's great.
He refuses to pay any money for llamas.
I know.
He likes to go to Craigslist and get them. And I know you can get llamas on Craigslist, but those are not Kakara llamas usually.
Yeah.
And I see these people post these pictures, these really long hair llamas with these packs on them. It's great. It's great. But a true Kakara llama that's a pack llama, when I started doing my research, it's night and day.
Yeah.
Now, the price is night and day, too. Let's not kid ourselves.
So tell me price.
I mean,
I think his were free.
Yeah, I think he got paid to take a couple. He goes to the llama rescue, I think, and gets them.
I remember hearing some stories.
Now,
it's vague now, but I was laughing when I heard it.
The words
like,
out of
isn't one of them lost up in the mountains somewhere? It's bear food.
They lost one of his llamas. Some guys rented his llama.
Rented. Yeah.
So this is the story.
Then he got some money where he could buy a real llama.
That's funny. So what happened was, lost the llama. The guys felt so bad. Lost his $50 Craigslist llama up in the mountain. Grizzlies ate it, or it's still running around up there. Come back. They felt bad. They gave him $1,500. Don't quote. I may be wrong.
Yes,
but
something like
gave him like $1,500. Went to Bo. Went to Wilderness.
Oh, really?
Yes, I talked to Bo about it. I think he went to Bo. I think in Wilderness.
That's smart.
And got an actual llama from him. And Bo laughed. We laughed about it. He says, "Yeah." He says, "When I talk, I think he said, quote. I think he told me. He says, I want the cheapest llama you got." Because he didn't want to break his streak,
Yeah.
But there's also some other guys that do a lot. Craigslist llamas. But mostly when I hear that, those Craigslist llamas, so to speak, you're not spending very much money on them, but they're also kind of like that goat. That fitness thing's an issue.
Yeah.
And they're about a 30 to 60 pound max capacity.
How much do yours carry?
Well, mine are young, and they're carrying 60. Just because I'm trying to make sure their plates develop.
Yes, right. Like goats.
But my 400-pounder, that guy should be able to carry 100 pounds without even thinking about it.
Yeah, I think Munther said 75 pounds was nothing for his.
60, they went 18 miles.
Okay.
I mean, some of them went easily with 30 pounds on each side.
Yeah.
And llamas are also real easy to tell if they're in trouble. That's another thing. Not knowing anything, if you just know a few llamas, when their mouth is open and their mouth breathing, you need to give them a break. That's just like you. I mean, virtually, if we're standing on the trail with
that's
our
like
mouth
me
open.
with Aaron Snyder.
Well, that same thing. And usually I find, Brian,
Only Aaron doesn't let up.
In my conditioning level,
Yeah.
when my mouth is open and I turn around, theirs is sometimes open. So we were a good match for each other.
Yeah.
But so they can you can kind of tell if they're struggling a little bit. And llamas also, they do have a reputation for when they get exhausted, they just say, "I'm done," and lay down.
That's how a mule is.
And they
They
won't
quit.
get up
Yep.
until they're ready.
They're done. They're done. They have a good, I call it a good self-preservation instinct.
Yeah.
Like, they just are like, look, I know my limits, and I've hit them, and I'm done. And a horse will be like, you can work it to death.
Yeah.
You can
They
make it really
froth
sick.
up and
they won't quit on you.
Yeah.
And so you can ride a horse till it drops and dies. You can't do that to a mule.
I don't know
It
that
will
you can
just
do that to a
stop.
llama either. They'll lay down, I think, eventually.
Yeah.
Now, llamas got hair, so there are some heat. When you're hunting and really hot,
Yeah.
you're going to have to be a little more careful in the summer when you're taking them. You're going to have to be wise
But they got to
about
be
it.
nice in the winter.
But dude, from what I'm hearing, they build little lean-tos. I'm going to build mine, but Bo says they never even go in.
Yeah.
It's 20. It's
They're just
minus,
used to
they're
those.
just laying out there.
Yeah, they're built for that.
They're built for it. That's another
So
thing.
so go back. I cut you off.
okay.
Those mules or those llamas that are good, they're called Kakara.
Kakara, CCARA.
Okay.
And that's kind of the line of llamas that were bred from. I mean, again, this is all from Bo, but that were bred for packing and not for fiber production. And they kind of breed them for certain qualities. High at the tall withers,
Right.
like a 50-inch.
So they're built for packing, basically.
Longer legs for a better stride. Big front
Temperament
ends,
probably for it, the whole
probably.
thing.
So anyway, the Kakara llama.
So how much does one of those run? Because we didn't get into price.
I've been looking for 2 years. Like I said, I have not seen a good, has experience for under $3,000.
Okay.
I average between $3,000 and $4,000 for all of mine.
Yeah.
When you get closer to 6 that has a couple years of experience, you're going to be at closer to $4,000, even $5,000. I mean, I know some guys said they wouldn't sell theirs for $10,000.
You're right.
The other problem with the Kakara llamas is that the highly desirable males, the studs, are hard to come by. So they're in high demand for breeding all the time. Because since there's not very many, in order to diversify the bloodline and to not, line breed them so much, there's not a lot available.
Yeah.
And so, like Bo, that's been what Bo's mastered over his career.
Yeah.
He worked his whole llama experience has been based on trying to build this herd around some of the best males. So he's grabbed up all over the country all these studs.
Right.
And now he's got an amazing. The only problem with Bo, that sucker won't sell any of his llamas. I said, Bo, you're in business.
Sell llamas.
He goes, I know, but I can't get rid of any. I'm like, you got 200 llamas.
That's one thing I was going to ask you next is I notice people who get like goats or they get llamas or they get pack animals, right? And they fall in love with their animals, like they're their buddies.
Yeah.
Do you see that happening with you?
My kids, I didn't know what my kids would think. I mean, we don't have a dog. We don't have a pet at all.
Yeah.
And my kids absolutely love these llamas. They go out, and they're so – if they were climbing in that pen with 4 horses, I'd be freaked.
Totally. Absolutely.
Even mules would scare me. Just stepping on them could hurt them.
Yeah.
They go out there and feed them and yank them and pull them, and those llamas just come to them. They thrive with them. So my family loves packing with them. I can't get my kids to hike.
Yeah.
Because we came to Montana, we've been hiking the crap out of them, I'll be honest. And they're like, but with those llamas, they did 4.5 miles. It went by fast.
Fun.
They're leading them. And so and I'm training 2 of them to saddle train them.
Yeah.
To carry my kids.
Yeah, I heard
so
about
we can
that.
do some long training.
Gunther was talking a little bit.
I've already had my kids on them.
That's cool. So they're easy. They're pretty easy to keep. So you enjoy having them.
Dude, I'm kind of like you. I love hunting. I love it. And I kind of step back from my business, and this is my focus right now, just kind of catch up on what I missed out on for a lot of years because I just worked so hard.
Yeah.
And I really didn't want a pack animal was going to interfere with that.
I agree. Aaron and I talk about it all the time. And Aaron hates horses. Hates.
I don't
like
hate it, but they
he's
scare
like,
me.
I'm afraid of horses. Flat out. And when we're riding, he hops off the horse whenever they're any sketchy. I grew up riding horses a lot, so I mean, I took them off of stuff like you're talking, I don't know, like Man from Snowy River down the hill straight, like stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And so I kind of have maybe it's misplaced, but I have a trust in horses that's pretty solid. But I did pack out with some cowboys out of Hell's Canyon on some cliffs that were like one misstep and you are dead. I'm like, I don't have that much trust.
Yeah.
I'm off this horse.
Yeah. See, the thing for me, Brian, too, is I love the hiking part of the hunting. I love that part of it. I'm not trying to avoid the physical part, and I'm not at the point.
Same with Aaron and I. We've talked about that, but it's the meat pack out. It's right there.
Prudent. Guys, as hunters, we have to be careful. You talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
We have to be careful of our image. We have to be careful of when we go out to harvest something, we got to take everything we possibly can of that animal out. And I never want to be in a position, I'm 5 miles in, it's 85 degrees, I can't get all that meat out, and I lose some of it. I hate that.
Yeah.
And I know it happens, but I would hate it.
Right.
And I know it's going to happen to me with solo hunting.
Yeah.
Because I love bow hunting, and I actually like hunting early season too, and even late season. The weather's so you never know.
Oh.
And you got to be able to get that meat out. And if you're going to be a really ethical hunter, like if you got 4 or 5 guys, you got to drop everything, and all 4 guys, they got to get that meat out.
No, it's true.
And
it's true.
So for me, and I'll be honest, I got some friends that want to come out hunting. Maybe they're not in the best condition in the world.
Yeah.
But they can still enjoy elk hunting. Maybe they can't carry their 60-pound pack up to the peak.
Yeah.
But they can hunt pretty good. But the packing and certainly carrying meat out is going to be a problem. Well, this helps them introduce them to hunting, and it doesn't slow me down by bringing them.
Yeah.
Because I can get those guys up there with me, and they can experience it, and they don't have to be a Snyder.
Well, I'm very intrigued. I want to keep following your story. Where can people follow your Instagram and your?
We just started this last year. We have Treeline Pursuits.
Treeline Pursuits.
And we're probably going to be doing some llama rentals soon. That's one of the areas I'm looking at. Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
I'd like to film some stuff and go on a little trip with you too. We talked about it a little bit. It'd be fun.
I'm going to be doing a lot of llama videos and a lot of llama stuff on Treeline. I'm going to do some how-to stuffs, so people that are even interested can see how there's not a lot of stuff out there.
Tell me about Bo. Where can people find Bo?
Wilderness Ridge Trail Llamas. Same thing on Instagram.
Wilderness Ridge Trail Llamas.
Wilderness Ridge Trail Llamas. And there's some other. I'll just throw a couple of other guys. Backcountry Logistics. Those guys.
I see those guys.
Those guys are really good.
We write to each other here.
Yeah, they've got some really good llamas, and they love their llamas, and I follow them a lot. But there's not that many.
Yeah.
And but the other thing too. Last thing I'll say about that is, you can rent a llama with no experience and be totally confident that you're going to be fine. Renting horses when you don't know would be wild.
You got to rent a guy to go with it.
Yeah, that's right. So, Bo rents them, and I think Backcountry rents them. There's some other guys that rent them. And so if I can rent my llamas to guys that will take good care of them, and they can – for me, it's more about I want to keep them – the busier they are, the better they're going to be.
Totally.
So anyway, Treeline Pursuits is Instagram, and we're having fun with it.
Awesome, dude. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. We need to do this for a long time.
Thanks for having me. It's fun.
It's been a
pleasure.
We got to stay connected. Maybe we'll, those that are listening, watching, if you got some more questions or you're more curious about this, fire me some emails and stuff, and we'll get Bo and Mark back on, and we'll follow some of this.
I figured this was the rookie intro. This is how rookie gets involved with llamas. We want to really talk llamas. We got to get Bo involved.
Totally. I was going to say this is us pretending like we know about llamas. Like
Bo's going to be like, "Why did you say that?"
Yeah. Hey. At Gritty, we talk at the level we know, which may not be that high, but at least you get something.
All right, man.
So anyway, thanks, Mark.
Cheers.
Stay gritty.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, for those of you that are out buying new gear for the season,
it's
time. We've got Aaron and I have our gear list at blackovis.com. We have a link on the Gritty Bowman website. You just click that link, and you can go to Black Ovis, and all the gear that Aaron and I have put on our gear list in the past are now kind of all in one website. It's free shipping. It's usually same day or next day shipping with Black Ovis. We got a bunch of stuff that's 10% off retail, and the prices are pretty legit to start with. But it's just really convenient, and you're supporting a hunting company instead of REI, or because you got Petzl E-lamps and, I mean, everything.
Yeah. Well, what I like about it is, like, in the past, guys would ask me about gear, and I've done quite a few gear videos, but what I like about it is instead of referring them to an old list, which still is great stuff, now I know I can send them that one link all the time, and I know that's always your newest stuff.
Yeah. And
now I can also make sure I'm always got it. If it's good enough for the Gritty Bowman, it's good enough for Tree Line Pursuits.
Dude, and I'm telling you, the prices
I'm excited about that.
Are good. And so we've been getting a good response on that. So anyway, folks, if you're out there shopping for some new gear, and especially if you heard it from Aaron or I or on the podcast about some product, it supports us too if you shop there.
Well, don't take it from them. I mean, there's nobody that knows his stuff more than Aaron when it comes to gear. That guy, if it's on his list, you need to have it.
Dude, he's got to play with everything and test it out. So it's cool. It's very cool. So I hope people like that. Anyway, there's that.
Stay gritty.
Yeah.
The future of public lands. All of us own them, all of us use them. Political activists are demanding us to hand over the public lands where the state legislators could transfer and control these lands. U.S. citizens own 640 million acres of public lands, which creates 6.1 million jobs and generates $646 billion per year.
States have been selling off land to pay bills for over 100 years, thus closing access to the public. 39% of original 64 million acres have been sold. The cost of land management would break most state budgets. For instance, who will pay the hundreds of millions of dollars to fight major wildfires each year? It doesn't matter how many promises are made. The financial reality is it will force states to have to sell off our public land.
President Theodore Roosevelt said, "We must preserve our lands for future generations, not merely to the people now alive, but to the unborn people. Our duty to the whole bids us restrain an unprincipled present-day minority from wasting the heritage of these unborn generations."